I believe we're seeing a phenomenon where change in the industry is mandatory. The old ways of doing things and the ways of doing things in comfort zones is no longer the case. For instance, this particular company, Ion, I think that's how you say it, or Inin, somebody please help me, is a publisher who has a number of games that I guess have not been making their way to Xbox. For instance, there is Shenmue 3, and they have this game called Trouble Witcher. I don't know, or Trouble, whatever. They have this other game here, and then they have this other game here. That's how much I know about this company, and I do know about Shenmue as well too, right? Or Shenmue. Some people say it's Shenmue, some people say it's Shenmue. But the really interesting thing I woke up to this morning, thankfully, is that we're seeing some news from them. The news is them asking a no promise post. That's what they're saying. This is a no promise post, but we're asking if we were to convert some of our games to Xbox, which ones would be the most interesting. Basically just trying to ascertain which of our PlayStation Switch game Xbox players would like to play. Thanks. This story writes itself, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, if anybody else was wondering if, somewhere, somehow, developers are not interested in the Xbox ecosystem, I'm sure your worries are probably alleviated, right? Because right now, you can already see with your own eyes that somewhere, somehow, it appears that developers want to bring their games to Xbox. It appears that this developer, actually, not just developers, but this particular developer wants to bring its games to Xbox. And from their statement, you can tell that their games are mostly games that have dwelled on the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation for a minute. What's going on? Well, the Xbox ecosystem is getting more and more appealing. If anybody didn't know, contrary to popular belief and a lot of the stupid nonsense on Twitter, you'd realize that right now, that people are talking differently about the entire Xbox ecosystem. It's only in the console war spaces, though. That's where, you kind of have to, filter out some of the things that you hear. However, the console war space is a joke, right? People who do that stuff, that's nonsense. I call them empty vessels, whether they be Xbox, whether they be PlayStation, whether it be Nintendo. In fact, I saw one Nintendo fanboy, shivering in their boots after having made fun of everybody when they started to bring out the performance metrics for the Nintendo Switch 2. And I was laughing. I didn't reply. I didn't say anything to him because I'm waiting for the full-scale assault on, their ignorance on things, because that's how it needs to go these days. These fanboys, they have really, in my opinion anyways, no chill. So what you do is whenever you're bringing down the, teach to teach, you got to make sure that, it really is impactful. Like they really know, oh my gosh, this thing that I've been touting and this thing that I've been saying for a long time is either a bunch of hokey in terms of a bunch of nonsense, or they would continue to run around and, spread trash. So that's pretty much what it is. And this particular, question from this developer, it makes sense. It makes a very huge statement. And that statement is, we want to bring our games to Xbox. In fact, we're feeling and testing to see which one would do first. That feel and test is them wanting to even manage resources and be much more direct and, much more accurate in pinpointing exactly what it is that, they want to go ahead and do, if you get what I mean. So if you think about it, this is definitely something that, is changing in the gaming landscape, because this is the second time we're seeing, This is the second time that we're seeing this particular company do a survey. Now, as to the perception of, Xbox, you can see it from this particular PlayStation Plus thread. I've been citing this thread for the last few days. In fact, shout out to one of my audience members. They said, hey, VG, you keep citing this, they're going to delete it. I was like, man, that would be great because, y'all know how I'm going to, play it. This person said, anyone else extremely jealous between the difference in quality between Game Pass and PlayStation Plus recently? I don't know. I almost want to say something is going on within the developer realm in the way that they actually envision, Xbox now. Maybe there was a time where you could say stuff about Xbox, not have any proof or whatever, and walk away and people would believe it. Like, oh, these games are skipping Xbox. And in some cases, the publishers were, skipping Xbox. And I would say maybe there was some kind of a, you know, positioning where some of these publishers just thought they were probably not going to do well on Xbox, but seeing how people are playing games on Xbox, Expedition 33 knocked it out the park. Oblivion Remake, Remaster, or whatever you're calling it, knocked it out the park. Blueprints knocked it out the park. And these games are just getting played. You know what happens when your game is getting played and you're building up save files? People may buy your games. I mean, like, you put your game and expose it to a place people are going to buy. Dude, they want to be there, right? Check this out. This comment is very funny, right? This person said, so they said, already seeing people say all. Well, that's really cool, but not so helpful. Think about what game you would like to play first, second, and third. That way, we can figure out which ones to focus on, assuming we can make them happen. That was common sense. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like a genius. This person then replied and said, all. The people just like, all. But impractical. I'm saying in my mind, it is impractical to have actually locked these games away from a community of gamers in the first place. Come on. What are these cats doing? Like, where have y'all been investing the money from the sales that you guys got in the first place? I don't know about whatever dealings. Maybe Shenmue and, Shenmue 3 probably got some dealings with, Epic Games and PlayStation. But how is this now something you want to come in here and give a survey for? You should be the one positioning yourself for Xbox gamers to take advantage. And if they say all, get to work. Start somewhere. Shouldn't you sitting there asking which one? That's so weird. This user said, to be honest, PS Plus Extra Premium are for newer or nostalgic gamers. Longtime PlayStation players played or own most of the titles on the service and have no desire to play PS1 to PS3 again. Well, that's a subjective opinion. I've heard a lot of PlayStation players talk about those older titles, and it could be that they don't want to play it again. It could be that they want something new. To top it off, the price is not worth what it's offering. I'm telling you, man, Xbox is in a different position right now. I know some of you can't hear it. Your ears are clogged with fanboyism. But fanboyism couldn't be bothered. You know what I mean? Facts don't care about your fandom. Your fandom needs to basically, drop this exclusivity nonsense, put on some big boy pants, and engage with the market. So person said, I've canceled PS Plus over a year ago and never plan on getting it again. Game Pass has PlayStation beat in that regard. If I didn't love PlayStation exclusive as much as I do, I wouldn't be on PlayStation. A good future would be what Xbox is currently doing. Adding their games to all platforms, PlayStation included, Forza Horizon in parentheses. If PlayStation ever did the same, I would leave the anti-consumer PlayStation system the second this ever happens. I have no interest in PC gaming because I would rather plug and play. One-time purchase, which is good for 6 to 8 years. No settings to fix, just good old couch and power play. I wish somebody would tell him that all of what he's asking for is available on the PC. But again, this is one thing people would say. And to be honest, again, like I said, there's just a lot of misinformation out there. I've tried. I saw another YouTuber, people tagged me on the quote saying that you cannot build an $800 PC to beat the PS5. I'm looking at one over here that costs about $650 to $700. Like, it's right here. Let me smack it. There it is. And I'm just shocked as to how people would make those conclusions when I can and then they watch a Linus Tech Tip video. And I'm thinking Linus Tech Tips got called out by Gamers Nexus for not being careful. Bro was building the computer and went and threw a 2 terabyte hard, SSD in there rather than actually investing the difference into a better GPU. And I was just shaking my head going, Linus, you can delete and download files. 2 terabytes of extra memory is not going to give you more. You know what? This person said, I dropped PlayStation Plus when they did their big price hike and I've never looked back. Oh, where's that comment? Yikes. There we go. It says Game Pass is so much better. Extra had a bunch of quality games I had beaten and a lot of crap I'll never play. The negative thing about Game Pass is there are too many games. Okay, that was funny. I didn't see that one coming. Too many games I want to play and not enough time. Ladies and gentlemen, bro. See, this is why I've just been ignoring the fanboys. They just want to chit. And while they want to go ahead and just, scramble and talk and, think that they're actually adding anything to the conversation, and I've been calling them empty vessels. I've now decided now that I'm going to now give them that tag. It's simply because most of them are not here to play video games. I mean, like, I'm going through this particular list, and what your eyes are seeing is gamers who are looking and saying, man, did you hear this? Did you just say, I love PlayStation, but it's anti-consumer? When I called PlayStation anti-consumer, I had a swarm of people who just rushed. You cannot be a blind loyalist with these companies. This is why I laugh when people try to come out here and say, you're an Xbox fanboy. And I say, screw Xbox. If Xbox changed this game right now, I'm out. Does that make sense? You really have to take that attitude with them because you don't need them. They need you. That is exactly the crux of the matter. Once you realize this, your fanboyism will melt away. It's easy. And don't get me wrong. There have been times I've been a brand loyalist to some brand or the other. But the moment that brand acted a fool, we were done. It was simple. I like the fact that Asus has the ROG brand in terms of it. Yes, Mr. Speeches, it's ROG. And, I got a ROG laptop one time. But, man, the moment that ROG laptop started acting out, I didn't even have the capability to return it because there was already, in my mind, a crappy product. I said, man, I'm not buying anything from you guys that's in the ROG category. Thankfully, their tough category does a good job. And I have some tough devices that are still, they're still kicking. So if they didn't have that brand, I would have been done with Asus forever. I went back and bought an Acer Predator used even just to basically back up that crappy laptop performance. Man, I'm still salty about that thing. This person said, yes, Game Pass is objectively better than PS Plus, but you're not going to buy an Xbox over it, and Sony knows that, so here we are. Ooh, ouch. They got called out. Okay, this person said day one on Game Pass kills the business of selling games, though. So I'm not jealous. I'm angry at them destroying the video games long term. This is a lie. I mean, did you not see Expedition 33 basically reaching new heights? And did you not see Oblivion remastered? And then I'm sure they're going to get corrected. I don't understand this logic. How's it destroying gaming? They're not withholding games from you by putting it on Game Pass, and you're still able to buy it, but they're allowing you to buy and play on your preferred platform and still making money from it either way. How is that possibly a bad thing? This person said, centuries ago, we bought music on CDs, vinyl, blah, blah, blah. This is a relic. They've basically done, they've basically done all that stuff. They've basically been told. Right? This person said, I don't feel jealous because I already subscribed. And this is you see this post? They were talking about jealousy and Expedition 33 and all that stuff. So this person said, I don't feel jealous because I already subscribed to Game Pass. Plus, I have the Essential one until next year, but I've already canceled. I'm no longer going to subscribe to any service on PlayStation and will only play the games I have there in the library. Game Pass is much better than PS Extra. Glad I have both consoles. Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to read this blog all the way to the finer points, and hopefully we can get through these hundreds of comments. But if you've been on the Xbox ecosystem, and some of you, I've had to block you because you didn't stop whining that Xbox was losing games and PlayStation wasn't bringing games to Xbox and stuff, you can already see people making the shift. Why? There is money on the line, and individuals who are working for their money, hustling to get their money, will not be trifled with. This is what Nintendo is about to learn. There will be hype men and fanboys who run and buy that console, but once they see the proposition, they're going to vomit and go, bleh, this is not what we're going to be paying for. Hype is usually how a lot of these gaming industry things happen. But once the hype dies down, people's eyes start to open. That's just the regular gamer for you. And once their eyes start to open, and once they start to, figure out that, man, I'm a cash cow for this company, it's over. Take that to the bank. Peace out.